You know what's incredible? Moms. You know what's really incredible? My mom. She keeps moving forward one step at a time, one day at a time, hardly slowing down her routine no matter what the setbacks that life and the world throws at her. Today is Mother's Day, or is it Father's Day? It doesn't matter. I was going to put this show out last week just to point out that it doesn't matter. But who has a harder job than moms? Dads? Nope. They don't carry a baby around for 9 months and then give birth. Men are completely different than women, and in almost no way do we think alike. Women watch sports and want to talk about the players. Guys don't care about that. They care about watching the game. Women worry about the hungry children around the world, while men worry about what's around the house to eat. Women want 2 full bathrooms. A man wants a 2-car garage. She wants a minivan. You want a drop top. She wants hot dogs. You want burgers. Try watching TV or listening to music in the car. We agree on almost nothing, which leads to constant daily arguments and differences of opinion that never seem to get resolved. And why would they? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So if you're one of those lucky guys who gets along great all the time with your girlfriend, never arguing and agreeing on most matters, and she likes watching the game, before you marry her, make sure your Venus doesn't have a penis. How do I transition from that? I'll try, even if the chuckle bucket is closed today, yet old Tommy Boy's monologue for his Mother's Day, Father's Day combo show has a wiener joke in it. So before I start today's show, I'd like to say Happy Father's Day, Happy Mother's Day. I'm not saying stop doing what you're doing, just adjust the way you're doing it to make it easier. Don't make things more difficult than they already are. That's all I'm trying to say, so let's go. It was on April 21st, 1951, facing the New York Yankees at Washington's Griffith Stadium, when Senators Gil Coan tied the MLB record when he hit 2 triples in the same inning. That's incredible! Remember that show? But this was not the first incredible thing that Gil had done. Nope. Go back to 1947 when Gil was in his second season as an MLB player, and he went on a hot streak like never seen before in Major League Baseball history and wouldn't be seen again for 50 years. How hot was Gil Coan? He had 21 hits and 42 at-bats for a .500 batting average, the highest average for any player with 30 or more at-bats in Major League history. Now in the back of my mind, I can hear the studio audience and host John Davidson yelling, "That's incredible!" What makes this even more, I won't say incredible, I'll say amazing, is that Gil Coan accomplished these 2 feats as a Major League ball player who was missing the top portion of his thumb on his left hand, the one he puts his glove on. The result from a freak accident as a kid, just playing catch outside the house with his friend. He would go through a variety of setbacks and ailments that might have deterred some, but not Gilbert Fitzgerald Coan, nickname Gil, outfielder, another player who bats left and throws right. MLB debut 1946 and was born 1922 in Monroe, North Carolina, and Gil loved his state of North Carolina. He passed away in February of 2020 at the age of 97. That's incredible. Another old outfielder who stuck around for nearly 100 years, and at the time of his death, the oldest living member of the New York Giants. He stood 6 foot even, and the 180-pounder was one of the fastest players in all of baseball. He would move away from home to attend a private religious college called Brevard. That's where he met his future wife. The two were married for 78 years, and everything in their life revolved around family, faith, their businesses, and were hugely involved in all things Brevard. In 1994, the school honored Gil by naming the baseball field after him. But way before that, Gil had to deal with many medical setbacks. Here's Gil Coan talking about having a portion of his left thumb amputated when he was 10. I got an infection and almost lost my whole left thumb. Didn't affect my hitting, but it sure made it more difficult to throw a baseball. They tried to get me to use a fake thumb, but that just got in the way. So eventually I just learned how to play without it. I cracked a joint and the bone came loose at the middle joint and they had to remove the bone. There are 2 accounts of how this happened. One says he was playing catch football. The other said he was playing catch baseball. Gil Coan signed with the Senators in 1944 and reported to Kingsport, Tennessee to play in the Appalachian League. Yes, today's show takes us back to hillbilly country, Kingsport. Why, that's where Dave Hillman's uncle had his clothing store. I wonder if Gil bought himself a tie or two while in Kingsport. Small world. Gil said, I remember they paid me $270 every month, and it seemed like a lot of money at the time. I did pretty good there, so they sent me to play for the Chattanooga Lookouts in the Southern Association, where I hit around .370. Gil Coan had a real nice season his first year as a minor leaguer in 1944, splitting time between the Kingsport Cherokees, Class D, and the Chattanooga Lookouts. But his 1945 season was even better. While playing right field for the Lookouts, where he actually hit .372, and would have the kind of season in the minors that will get you into the majors. In his 540 at-bats, Gil had 201 hits, 40 doubles, 28 triples, 16 homers, and 37 stolen bases. And the Sporting News picked Gil as the best player of the minors for 1945. Sure, it's nice to be acknowledged by a magazine and its writers, but I bet 99% of players would rather have the words that Ted Williams told the Boston Globe about Gil said about them. But Teddy Ballgame said this about young Gil. Ted says, the most promising prospect big league star, a real outstanding player. He has impressed me more than the rest. What I've seen of him has been terrific. He's fast and he can throw, and it looks like to me he's going to be a good hitter. Gil talks about his philosophy of hitting, if you want to call it that. Quote, I know I haven't any special batting technique. I just step up to the plate and do my best. No pitcher is going to bother me. Gil recalls making it to the majors, saying, in 1946, the Senators called me up, and now I was making some serious dough, $5,000. I was happy as hell. Did I mention Gil Coan was a fast runner? Gil Coan was a fast runner. He beat the Detroit Tigers single-handedly with an inside-the-park home run that won the game for the Senators. His speed would come into play a couple more times, and neither came during an actual game, but they did occur at a ballpark. Gil would race a horse in a foot race, and later a human. A horse, you say? Yep, a horse. Besides part of his left thumb being amputated as a kid, Gil said, I broke 3 bones in my baseball career, my head in 1950, my leg 2 years later, and my arm in 53. The first one happened when I was trying to break up a double play and fractured my skull. I was out for 6 weeks, but I had to sit down after a while because my head started swelling up again. Every year there seemed to be something that would slow me down. During the 1946 spring training, I got an infection in my leg and I was having problems throwing from my hand injury when I was a kid. But despite all that, I think I played pretty well. Problem is, if you can't walk, you can't play. Well, at one spring training camp, Gil had a really bad allergic reaction to the Florida sand and would suffer from infected skin on his feet, causing blisters that looked like a fungus. The team had no idea when he could get back on his feet. To keep the list of Gil's career-interrupting injuries and setbacks going, he would also have appendicitis early on in the 1947 season. Did I mention Gil was a fast runner? There were a few times during his baseball career when Gil would share the spotlight while showing off his speed, and it wasn't stealing bases in a ball game. Here's a great example of an old-time minor league baseball promotion at its best. And it sounds like a stunt Sport Shirt Bill Veeck would conjure up. Never know, maybe he did. Now Gil talks about that event and about being one of the fastest players in baseball and the time he had a foot race with a horse. Yep, a horse. Quote, I was fairly well known for being a fast runner. In 1956, I was playing with the Minneapolis Millers, the Giants minor league team, and almost everyone on that team eventually played in the major leagues. They had a fan appreciation night, promotion. My teammates set a record throwing a baseball 445 feet. They asked me to race a horse from the right field wall to home plate. They gave me a little head start on this horse they got from some local racetrack, but I won. They gave me $25 and I was thrilled. The player who threw the ball 445 feet was pitcher Don Great. The record was broken the following year just by inches. Gil likes to talk about this great opening day memory for him, the one he remembers from April 18th, 1949, Gil said. Oh, that was a big day. First, I got to meet President Truman before the game and also Connie Mack. Then I went 3 for 5 in the game. Mack asked me out to dinner. Of course, I went. After that opening day game, the reporters started saying I was going to really be something special in the big leagues. I always thought I was good, but not great. Getting back to Gil Coan being a very quick and fast runner, because there is a difference. Me, when I ran track in high school, guys who beat me in the 100-yard dash, I would beat them in the 220 every time. I was slow out of the blocks. Then there was that one time, 10 years prior to the 1956 horse race, back when he was a rookie, at an event put together by Senators owner Clark Griffith. And of course, if there's a baseball promotional gimmick, Sport Shirt Bill would have a hand in it, and he did. The ringmaster's fingerprints were all over it, because on August 21st, 1946, Sport Shirt concocted a 100-yard dash race between Gil Coan and George Case as a pre-game attraction. Not one of his more spectacular promotions, but it worked better than some of Bill's ideas because over 24,000 fans came to the park on a Wednesday night. Which park? Doesn't matter. What matters is the event was a success. That's a lot of tickets sold on a Wednesday night. This is Gil talking about that race. As a rookie, I thought a lot of myself. So one day I challenged 5-time AL stolen base champion George Case to a foot race at Griffith Stadium before a game. Case beat me, but just barely. He pulled a lot of people into the ballpark. They announced that Case was the fastest man in Major League Baseball, and after the race, I got to meet General Dwight Eisenhower, so that was a big deal. Gil lost that race by 6 feet or so, timed by 6 local AAU officials with George running 10 flat on soggy ground. Both players received $500 for their time and effort, plus Gil got to meet another president. Looking back on his baseball days, 13 seasons, mostly in the majors, 8 seasons with Washington Senators, then traded to the Orioles for Roy Sievers in February of 1954. Spent 55 on the White Sox and 56 with the New York Giants, playing 4 games with them at the very beginning of the season. Then he ended his career playing a full season with the Minneapolis Millers. But it was in spring training 1956 at Scottsdale, Arizona is when my dad got Gil Coan's autograph. Speaking of the 1954 Baltimore Orioles, who the year before were in St. Louis and called the Browns, Gil Coan was put in the history books when on MLB's opening day 1954 at Tigers Briggs Stadium, not only was he the starter in center field for the Orioles in their inaugural game, in the first inning, Gil Coan hit a single to right field. Normally not a big deal, unless it was the first hit in Baltimore Orioles franchise history, which it was. 9 days later, Gil Coan inked his name again in the books by being the first to steal a base for the brand new Baltimore Orioles. Gil said this: I got to travel all over the country and meet great people just because I could hit a ball and run fast. I was a pretty decent player, nothing special. I had my best year in 1951 and even made it into the MVP voting. Some old players wonder about what could have happened if they played on a different team or during a different period in baseball, but that's just a waste of time in my opinion. Would I have been happier to make $2 million instead of $5 grand? Hell yes, but what can you do? Most of my career wasn't what I would have wanted, but I still loved every minute of it. Fate and luck play a part in everyone's life, so sitting around and fretting about it is kind of useless. I look back with fond memories, and I'm proud of what I achieved in baseball. Gil Coan is a great example of this show's many themes, the main one being family and perseverance. Had he given up at any one point in his career, Gil would not be able to say that he holds or shares records in the MLB record book, as well as being logged in franchise history books and MLB stat sheets for being the first to do something for his team. The same can be said about many of the players I have profiled over the past 100 plus episodes. The difference is, Gil Coan's case, he's one of the rare few that can say his name is in the MLB record books more than once, and in a couple different decades. And what Gil Coan accomplished during his 11-year major league career, despite all his many medical setbacks, I just gotta say it along with the studio audience, that's incredible. Happy Father's Day, or is it Mother's Day? It doesn't matter. Love you guys.